DJ and PK, remember you got a chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you win a pair of tickets to see Post Malone at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on September 8th. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. You'll be listening all day Wednesday because it's also Big 12 Media Days, Tuesday and Wednesday. So gear up for that. Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, joins us now. Steve, good morning.
Good morning.
Steve, it's been said you only get one chance to make a first impression. And Summer League is the first impression. Now, we all know that players are going to evolve, so maybe that doesn't apply as much to basketball, but it still applies a little bit. First impression of a basketball player, what do you want to see? What are you looking for right away, first time you see somebody?
I think the very first thing you look at is how hard a guy plays and just the intensity. And, that would be knowing that you come with, hey, I'm here, I'm going to commit to just doing everything I can, play as hard as I can, defend. Obviously we break this down a lot more, but the first thing is effort and intensity and skill. And from there, then I'm looking at skill set, and depending on what the circumstances are, what my needs are, is this person going to fill that? But I think first and foremost is just how tough and how hard they play. For me, is a first play. When I probably spent a lot of years watching guys in Vegas and LA and Washington, D.C. and everywhere. And one of the first things I looked at was, number one, how hard are they playing? Are they competitive by nature? And then you go immediately to their skill set. Can they shoot? And that was always kind of the first thing that I looked at was, can they shoot? Where are we at there with their offensive skill set? And then the last thing, probably just attitude, watching the attitude and how that plays out and how they deal with failure and how they deal with success. And, you're developing a culture and a program. You're out recruiting in July and throughout the year you're recruiting. You're looking for the intangibles all the time. But first and foremost, I want a high competitive guy that, you don't have to start from scratch in terms of his offensive skill set.
How about the ability of somebody to do what they're asked to do? I can remember you made a change when you had a really good team from one year to the next. You had a guard who was interested more in shooting, and you wanted a lead guard who was interested more in passing. So the guy who maybe had more talent didn't play as much because the player that had lesser talent did what you wanted him to do, and that made the team better. So I'm wondering, how important is that these players do what they're supposed to do within the framework of a team?
Well, I think that for coaches or for coaching staffs, as you prepare for a season, you're having meetings with players, and you're having those really kind of transparent conversations in terms of what their role is and, what they can grow and become. I think you're constantly having those discussions. And so, and I think everybody goes through that as a coach, is that what's going to make us most complete about our team. And sometimes it was a guy that I just knew could defend, would do what we asked, get the ball to the guys that needed to get the ball, and rather than them having some kind of agenda in terms of, this is what my skill set is, this is what I'm going to do. If you're not having those conversations as a coach with players, then you're going to have issues with the intangibles and the culture stuff that is important long term. So, that happens all the time. And you get to a point where, what are the needs for this team to reach its full potential? And maybe somebody making sure that somebody's just going to D up, guard up, man up, and do the things that don't require maybe necessarily a lot of what people would perceive as a lot of talent in terms of their ability to pass and shoot and do those kinds of things. The best case scenario is getting guys that are willing to buy in and also are very talented. Then you have really good teams.
I guess the problem with summer leagues, whether you're looking at what we're talking about here with the Jazz hosting the summer league for 3 games, 6 games over 3 days, but 3 games for the Jazz. Or if you're looking at these AAU competitions in the summer, the level of structure and organization, that can have a pretty big impact on who shines and who doesn't, right? And it doesn't really – basketball now doesn't look like basketball in January.
No, it doesn't. And I think, too, I think in the past, there have been times where AAU basketball will kind of use that terminology. There were questions about, the things that were really important to coaches. But I think very quickly you can see and watch, guys that really do want to compete. And I think when you're sitting in the stands and you're watching people compete, and you're watching 5 or 6 different guys that you're really interested in, I think we go back to that kind of the intensity on and off the court, the competitiveness, that makes a difference. But I will say this. As I have now as a grandfather, going to grandson's AAU games, and I've been in Chicago, I've been in Los Angeles, Vegas. I've been to a few of these camps and during the summer, and just watching teams play. And there is, at the highest level, there's really good coaching going on at AAU. In the past, it's been kind of you're thinking, they just run up and down the floor and it's all one-on-one. But the things that I saw when I was in Indiana and when I was in Illinois and when I was in Vegas and in Los Angeles watching grandchildren play is that it was really organized, and that there was a lot of coaching going on rather than, and mind you can see the opposite of this. I get that. But I was impressed with the accountability of not letting guys make mistakes and stay on the floor, or having a bad attitude and staying on the floor. That type of behavior was corrected quite quickly. Now, I'm not putting a blanket over all of AAU basketball, but what I saw at the highest level is there was a lot of coaching and a lot of preparing for the next level, whether it's in college or potentially going into the NBA. So that was kind of fun to watch. I saw it firsthand, and I think I'm done. I have one grandson going to South Carolina, so I'm not going to be there, but I'm hoping to get down one more time to Vegas. And kind of fun, too, also to see guys, coaches, and I haven't seen in a long time, and to be there. But I was impressed. I have been impressed with the quality of coaching that's going on in the number of the tournaments I've gone to.
How much stock do you put into motivation? I'll show them, because you can argue that all 3 of these guys that the Jazz got were, in their minds anyway, and their handlers, thinking that they deserve to go higher. So I'm wondering if you believe in that type of stuff.
I'm hoping that between the interviews that take place prior to the draft and the workouts, that you'll find a lot about the character of these guys. And we were together listening. You had an opportunity to, on the phone, talk to Cody Williams, and it just seemed like he had a great attitude and he was prepared. And I think by the time you get to that point, by the time you've been interviewed, by the time you've been worked out, they understand and realize that there's a next level to this that I never reached when I was in college, or maybe they're coming out of high school. And I think those that have a humble attitude and are coachable and willing, and I just can't imagine. I would just think that 90% of the guys that are getting drafted are hungry and coachable and want to be there and make this a living for the rest of their, for the next 10, 20 years. So I believe that in this setting with the NBA and with the draft, that we're not going to see a lot of the inappropriate behavior or selfishness or those kinds of things out there. Number one, they got a staff there that's there with them during Summer League. I don't know if you guys have been to Summer League before, but it's kind of a fun thing to watch. I've never watched it in Utah because I haven't been up here, but I did go to Vegas one time and watched it, and I just thought it was organized, and guys were playing hard and competing. They're playing for their lives here. They're trying to get in a situation where they can spend a long time in the league. So for me personally, I see a real upswing in terms of how this is managed and what happens from the high school to AAU to college to the next level to the NBA. So I've actually have been really happy about what I've seen. It doesn't mean that there aren't inappropriate things going on, or the guys think that there's attitude problems coming into camp. I just can't imagine that happening, to be honest with you, in this day and age, because there is so much transparency and so much connection between coaches and assistant coaches. throughout the year that I don't know. The league is so much better. It's just getting so much better year in and year out, and it's because of the little things that are taught and enforced and mandated in your no matter who you are, whether you're the Jazz or whether you're the Warriors or you're the Celtics, they all have to have a culture that's going to be, has long-term effects and impact on the players and their success. So I'm really high on the NBA and how they do things.
For the Jazz draft picks, you got any particular guys you're watching for anything individually?
I mean, it's like I'm looking for those same intangibles and those kinds of things. But you take a look at Cody Williams, and what's he going to be like here? We know that he has length and size, and he can run the floor, and he's unselfish. He'll make plays and give the ball up. He's not a great perimeter shooter yet. So, those are the things that I would be watching. And you're not going to see a lot in the 3 or 4 days, but you're going to get a look and you're going to see the potential of a young man. And Cody himself, who was kind of had injuries late in the season, but everybody's quite certain that he has an upside. And I'm not sure that we'll necessarily see that upside, but hopefully we will. We'll see some things maybe that are surprises. I think having a younger brother in the league helps him, and with a lot of the different things. But him getting healthy, and then just basically, we talked about this when we did the draft night thing, but I think everybody needs to be patient with these younger players. And so if you know that they're not great shooters, don't go in there thinking you're going to go watch, well, this guy can't play. He can't. Well, let's look down the road and see what happens in the next 6 months, in the next 9 months, next year, where they're working full-time on their craft and where they've never really kind of done that before with outstanding coaches. And then we'll start seeing the things that kind of make a difference, I guess. But I whether it's Cody or Isaiah Collier is another. I really look forward to seeing him play. I mean, we've talked on the show here. We talked about it in the draft night stuff where he was kind of the number one guy in the country, and now all of a sudden things kind of went south, and everybody's wondering what's happening. But he's got a huge upside. He's strong. He can score. He's got good instincts. I mean, he turned the ball over, and those are things that can be fixed, though, with coaching, with film. Those are things that are fixable. Shooting mechanics, if they're not great, then you're going to have to really spend time. And that's sometimes with him, I know he's just reading and getting more understanding about who he was. And he probably relied a lot on his athleticism, his ability, his quickness to kind of get places and do things and be really strong. But you get exposed pretty quickly, and not just the NBA, but even at the college level, if you're not working on your craft, and if you're not, you don't have the shot that you need time and experience to get better. And it's hard to play in this league if you're 6'3" and 6'4" and you don't shoot it. There aren't very many of those guys in the league. So with a guy like Isaiah Collier, that's going to be things he's working on, and his decision-making on the floor will kind of be another thing. But, it's just going to be fun to watch him. Same thing with Kyle Filipowski. Here's kind of a project in the sense that he's 6'11", but the fact is he's got pretty good offensive skills. Now, I haven't seen those in person, except for maybe some clips and stuff. But, he can pass it, he can shoot it, he can dribble it, and he can be a force at times. But he's also really lacks the physicality that you need to play in this league. And so those are going to be things that the Jazz are going to be working with him during the summer. And, we'll have to see what happens. But, everybody looks at him and says, if he puts the whole package together here, he can shoot it, he can do this, and I heard nothing but good things about his individual workouts. And he does have good perimeter skills. And it's just going to be a matter of getting stronger and being able to be able to sustain that effort. And but that's a full-time deal. I know they probably get some time off, but I can't imagine these rookies, whatever the rules are with the NBA, every day they're not in the gym somewhere working on their craft, working on their weaknesses so they can get ready for the beginning of the season. So I like the picks. I think there's an upside to all of them. We've talked about this too, and it's like who's going to be ready. We've got 2 or 3 young players that we're waiting to see what can happen. They've been there in a year. Now you got 3 more new ones. As it all plays out, a year from now, I'm not sure that all 5 or 6 of those. You got a sophomore class that has had some experience, and then you've got a brand new rookie class that's going to gain some experience. So it'll just be fun to watch and see who develops and who doesn't. But it's a fun thing to watch, and I know as a coach, to work guys out and to see that growth and that strength and to see guys get stronger and more competitive and more confident is one of the really great, wonderful things about coaching, is to see that change in front of you. So I'm hopeful we'll watch this, and as we watch some of the games and see these guys grow and develop this summer.
Big 12 Football Media Days is this week in Las Vegas, so I made my way down south. We'll be broadcasting there live from Vegas as it begins, and I made my way down south over the weekend. Finished up playing 18, and it was 114 degrees. Can you beat that?
I don't think I've ever played. I grew up in Central California, so I have played in temperatures where it's 100 degrees plus. I don't know about 114 if I've ever done that. I certainly couldn't do it today, but it's one of those things that, we for those that have a passion for that game, we'll play golf in any circumstance and situation. Nobody likes the wind. I don't mind the rain as long as I have the right gear on, but the wind is I hate the wind playing golf.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It's just not fun to play, but the 114-degree weather might be a match for that. Because in Vegas, it's 114 and it's windy.
Yeah, I was in Mesquite. It wasn't too bad. The wind picked up towards the end, but it wasn't too bad. But the whole goal then was don't worry about the score. Just be alive when you walk off 18.
I know. That's true. Where did you play at in Mesquite?
Conestoga.
Okay. There's a lot of good golf there. A lot of good golf in that. But it is windy. And I have played some golf there when it was windy that, we didn't finish around. I mean, it was like 40, 50 mile an hour winds. And I thought, you're hitting the ball, it's up in the air, and, it goes 100 yards to the left or the right. So wind is not fun for golf. I can deal with the other elements. If it's cold, if it's 50 degrees or 40 degrees, put another layer of clothing on, let's go play. But not so much with wind.
Well, Steve, thanks for the time. We appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined once again by John Woodbury, working with the Ultimate Sports Bash coming Friday and Saturday to the Mountain America Expo Center, 9400 South and State in Sandy. Lots of athletes, lots of vendors, current athletes, past athletes, interactive stuff for the kids. What's your favorite thing going to be? You're in the midst of all the planning.
So I have to be technically impartial, but growing up a Ute, I think my favorite thing...
With your dad employed by the University of Utah's athletic department.
Yes. Exactly. I am really excited about the 2008 and 2004 team reunions. So we're bringing back a bunch of players from those two teams, those epic, undefeated Utah football teams that played in the Fiesta Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, broke the BCS, slaughtered Alabama, and we're bringing a bunch of those guys back. So they'll do panels and autographs, and you just get a chance to hang out and hear stories of those epic seasons at the U. So I think that's probably my favorite part.
So I can do the math. The 2004 team is turning 40, give or take a couple of years, depending on what year you were in school then. How many of them do you recognize?
That's a good question.
I mean, some look exactly like themselves, and it's easy. Others may have, lost some hair, put on a few pounds.
Grown
a big old beard.
It'll be interesting to see. It really will. And but they're getting a chance to talk to them has been fantastic. They're interesting people and accomplished individuals, and I'm just excited to have them all in one place and be able to have that fan experience that I loved growing up with my dad being at the U.
Mm-hmm.
I loved listening to him and the writers and players and coaches just sitting back and telling stories. And that's what this is all about, is getting a chance as a fan to listen to stories that aren't, it's not interviews after games. It's just hanging with athletes.
How many different sports are represented at the Ultimate Sports Bash?
Wow, that's another good question. I would
try.
say it's almost like you've done this before. Probably maybe 10 to 15. Okay. A lot of different interesting sports. Appa Sherpa held the world record for the most times cresting Everest.
Okay.
So he climbed Everest 21 times. As a Sherpa, carried other people's gear up. We've got Wheels Fotheringham, whose sport is wheelchair motocross. Sean O'Connell's an MMA guy. He obviously, you know him. He's fantastic.
You said mixed martial arts in there. I assume you got baseball, football, basketball, golf, soccer with Nick Raimondo. So
Yep.
that gets you to 10.
Kyle Beckerman will likely make an appearance as well. We've got volleyball. We've got a couple of volleyball players from the USA volleyball team. Danny Drews and Ronnie Jones-Perry. We've got wrestlers, Olympic wrestlers coming up from UVU. We've got pro wrestlers. We got a pickleball pro pickleball guy.
Nice.
Chuck Taylor. We've got.
What kind of shoes does he wear?
You know what? I don't know what kind of shoes he wears. We'll have to find out.
I mean, Chuck Taylor's got to wear Chuck Taylor's.
You'd think
I right?
so.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it's that guy. He'd be a really old pickleball player.
He can't be the same Chuck Taylor.
We've got hockey. We've got gymnasts. We've got.
Oh yeah, you're up over 15 sports easy.
Oh yeah,
you closing in on
We've
20.
got both U of U and BYU gymnasts. We've got mascots. We've got the original Jazz Bear. John Absey's going to be there. He's fantastic.
Is he going to
guy.
be in some kind of costume and disguise, or are people actually going to see what the Jazz Bear looks like?
They're going to see what he actually looks like. He's a very handsome man. I'm sure you'll all realize. He's really a good guy. Love hanging out with John. So yeah, we really have tried to make it inclusive of all the different sports. There are so many amazing sports out there. We've got a team that does ultimate frisbee professionally. It's kind of fun, and we're just too excited. Oh, rugby, the Warriors. I've gotten into rugby lately. It's a lot of fun. No matter what you like, no matter where your interests are, your expertise, you're gonna love it.
Ultimate Sports Bash, interactive stuff for the kids, interviews, panel sessions, autographs, selfies, vendors, air conditioning. It's all available 9400 South and State, the Mountain America Expo Center, the Ultimate Sports Bash, Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tickets online or at the door or both?
Both. It's more cheaper online ahead of time. And KSL discount. If you put in the promo code KSL25, you'll get a 25% discount.
All right. There you go. Hey, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. DJ PK, it's 97.5, The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
The problem is I think the Jazz want to move a bunch of their draft picks, and now the market is not what it was before the Jazz made their own trades. But if Mikal Bridges is worth that, what is Anthony Edwards worth?
Yes, what is Giannis worth? Like, to get one of those guys now, is it 10 draft picks?
Right. What is the cost? So what is the way to go? It would make me more likely to go in on moving up in the draft. Because maybe I think that now drafting my player really has to be the guy, and I've got all these picks. I can move wherever I want in the draft. Maybe the most value is not flipping picks for stars, but drafting stars, because that's the only way to get players.
How do we get a star player? If we've got all these draft picks and we can't acquire another star, like the market is not opening up to make stars available for trade with all this draft capital, the only way to get a star is through the draft.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest. And then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The Big 12 Media Day. The Utes and Cougars are back in the same league together again, putting all the focus on this enormous 16-team 2-day extravaganza. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What do you want to know? What do you want to learn? That's a lot of questions. Pick one and dive in.
Well, I want the Utes to get up there and say, of course we are the preseason favorite. We are going to dominate this league. Get used to it. We're not going to be here for long because we're going to go on to some version of the Big Ten down the road. But while we're here, we are going to eat your lunch.
If Kyle Whittingham says that, lunch is on me. There's a 0% chance that's Kyle Whittingham's opening speech.
Well, we appreciate the respect, but, the polls, they don't really mean anything. You got to take it out on the field. You got to be able to do what you're supposed to do.
Welcome to the show, Kyle. Thanks for joining us once again.
It's all about blocking and tackling. You got to get the fundamentals of football, and we'll see what happens. But we like our chances, and if we stay healthy, and blah 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 blah.
Oh man,
yeah. I think that's probably what it's going to be. But it's a sign of respect, obviously. It's a sign of respect, but that's all it is. It doesn't mean anything beyond the sign of respect. And you don't have to worry about that. That's the cool thing with the playoff. You don't have to petition. You don't have to beg. Remember, wasn't it one year?
Well, some teams have to beg. Four conference champions don't have to beg. The other
right, so then just be that team.
Be that team, and then you're free of that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Then you'll be begging for the 3 seed.
You don't have to beg.
Then you'll be begging for the 3 seed. The 1 and 2 are probably going to be out of reach. They're going to go to the Big Ten and the SEC.
I'd be shocked if that didn't happen. They'll be. I think the Big 12 will be slotted as the 4 seed. But so what? Come on. If you want to win the thing, you're not going to backdoor it, and it's going to be fun because it's going to be historic, right? We talk about the BCS Busters and all that stuff, and that's recorded in history forever. And we remember the game, the butt kicking over Pittsburgh and the Fiesta Bowl, and blah blah blah. So this thing here, to be a part of this, you'll go down in history and take advantage of it, and everything aligns for them to be in the game in the Dallas area. The first weekend of December. There's just no question about that. You've got enough good quality players there, and you got 25-year-old Cam Rising doing his thing, and he's good, no doubt. He's a winner. Kid's a winner. The old man, I guess we can call him the old man's a winner now. And so we'll see, hopefully, knock on wood, he stays healthy and has that opportunity. But it would be cool. Whichever team wins it, that team was going to be cool to be part of the initial 12-team playoff, and it'll have an expansion and advancements and modifications down the road. But this will be the first one. But by no means is it a shoo-in that they win that game. I think if I were to bet, I will be obviously situation of being in Vegas, but I'm not going to bet. If I would bet on Utah being one of the representatives for sure, because you only have to finish second. And I don't see any way that they don't finish at least second, all things being equal. When you get on the field, they could have a slew of injuries, and so that could wreck it. So, but right now, we don't have that, right? So just taken for the sake of argument's sake, it should be there when you look at this because and they start off, the non-conference doesn't really matter, but they should go 3-0 in the non-conference. And then Oklahoma State – followed by Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Stillwater the next week, the Cats in Salt Lake, right? Well, then after that, you play one team that had a winning record last year, if I remember correctly, Iowa State. You can double-check my fact, but I think that's what it is. And everybody else is crummy. You're playing the the teams at the bottom there, Houston, ASU, unfortunately for the Cougars, BYU. You got Baylor, but it's a non-conference game, but they were down at the bottom too.
Yep.
Obviously, that was a contracted series that they're allowing to play as a non-conference game. So to me, man, my gosh, things are there for you to take advantage of that. Now, once you get to that game, that's another story because you're going to be playing a quality team. You're not going to be playing a team with a losing record if you should get to Dallas, right? So we understand that. And right now, to me, I would go with either Kansas State or Oklahoma State, see which one does it. So this is a great time. Football's just a month away from practice, although we still got several weeks before the first game. And it's a hot place to be, Las Vegas, Nevada, literally.
You mentioned Iowa State, and I am curious about Rocco Beck, their quarterback, because they had the gambling scandal. They started 1-2. They lose their quarterback. They got to play this freshman. Now, he was a redshirt freshman. He'd been in the program, and he really, he took off. He had a couple of 300-yard games. He threw it well against Texas in a loss. He threw it well against Oklahoma State in a win. And another year now as an experienced starter. How good is he? And they're kind of on the fringe of the race. They're not one of the 5 teams that got a first-place vote, but they are in the top half of the league. And college football is famously, unpredictable at times. Everybody knew Texas was going to be good last year, but Oklahoma State was really good, and nobody saw that coming. So is Iowa State this year Oklahoma State? And does he have another gear? Can he take another step forward? Because he's pretty good as a redshirt freshman. Maybe he really lights it up.
Could be. It's the same thing with Kansas State and Johnson. He's a youngster at quarterback there too. So that same logic that you applied for the Iowa State, you can throw it across the board there to Kansas State and see what happens. Oklahoma State and Arizona, the other 2 teams that we look to be in the mix, they've got veteran QBs, right? Bowman and Fajita, so those guys are expected to do well. Fajita's, to me, he could very well lead the league in passing for what that is worth. You want to lead the league in wins, and that's
that's always a good stat.
Yeah, Cam Rising, that's where he doesn't necessarily just stat you to death; he just beats you, and so find ways to win the ball game. That's what matters the most. But, yeah, there's a lot of intrigue there, and I can see your line of thinking with Iowa State because they had a nice season and why you would expect them to build upon it.
September was a struggle, but after that, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks, October, November, and into their December bowl game. So he's doing a lot of stuff that Kyle Whittingham would raise an eyebrow and like, oh, really? 14 touchdowns, only 3 picks? You're talking my language.
And then I think there's going to be 1 or 2 teams at the bottom that on an individual Saturday can be tough, with BYU being one of them. In fact, I would say at least 2, if not 3, that have an opportunity.
You count Colorado as being at the bottom?
Colorado, yeah, I do. Colorado with their offense and with Sanders as the quarterback, they can put up points, right? I don't think there's any question about that. So, yes, I'm talking about 10 and below. Then you look at somebody like ASU. If they had a player, just a quarterback, not a tight end or a running back, they very well could have beat Washington and kept them out of everything that Washington was able to accomplish. They had the Huskies in Seattle right at the end on the ropes, and they're playing with they didn't have enough offensive linemen because they were so banged up. And this comes right from Morgan Scalley. He told me this, that they, instead of trying a field goal because they didn't think they could block the guys, they went for it, and it was like a 95-yard interception return that was the difference. Because Dillingham felt like their offensive line was so beat up. They didn't have guys who could block in the field goal situation. So they thought it was
pretty
less
minimal.
risky.
That's pretty minimal right there.
Right. But that's where they were.
Right.
That's where they were last year. And if that play doesn't happen, you can play the what-if game. I get all that. But the point being, they went into Seattle and played those guys super tough. So I don't think they'll be any worse than they were last year. And on a given Saturday, not across the 9 games, but on a given Saturday, or in this case they play the Utes on a Friday, but you get the point, any given week, they might be able to pull an upset that could make a difference in these standings. So, just because the Utes don't play a bunch of teams that were good last year doesn't mean that those teams this year on that given Saturday can beat you or can't beat you, because I think they possibly could. They're not going to be good enough to contend for first or second place, but any given week might be able to provide an upset that could make a difference.
That's true, but I do believe that one of these bottom 5 or 6 teams, is going to surprise us. And it happens in college football all the time. I mean, there's an occasional league that doesn't have any surprise teams, but wasn't Arizona a surprise team in the Pac-12 last year? There's always somebody. There's always somebody jumping
like
up.
That, though. The Pac-12.
Okay, but it was Oklahoma State in the Big 12.
Yeah, but Oklahoma State, they were underestimated.
They were.
But that's just. But their program is really good.
It has.
So I can't really.
Been there a long time.
I can't consider them a big surprise team when they've done it 10 times.
And nonetheless, most of the media did, because look where they were in the preseason poll. And then 7-2, baby.
Okay, so the media.
Well, that's who we're looking at with the media preseason poll right now when we're talking about these 6 teams. It is the media, whoop-de-doo. And they're going to miss on somebody.
You're looking at the poll. I'm looking at what's available to me knowledge-wise.
You don't think any of those teams can pop up?
Yes. Yes, but it's not based on a poll, no. But that's what I'm saying. To me, Oklahoma State has a pedigree. So somebody picked them somewhere in a poll. Okay, fine. But to me, Oklahoma State has a pedigree of being a really good football program, just like the Utes. The parallels are there with the coaching and a lot of other stuff. And if they have the running back and he's available to go, Gordon, he got a DUI, and how they handle that, they're going to be tough. But then they're expected to be tough this year. But yeah, there's going to be surprises. But the thing that I think to me, so if you were picked 10th and you finished 5th, all right, great. But that doesn't really necessarily influence the race. I'm looking for teams that provide a big-time upset that can make a difference in the race. I mean, it's good for that team if it's picked 10th or 11th and finishes 5th or 6th. That's nice. But they may not win those games. They may just beat the teams that stink.
And who does upset Utah or one of the Kansas schools or Arizona, Oklahoma State and change the race?
That's what I'm looking at, where it's just a one-shot deal. It's not sustainable for those teams.
If Oregon hadn't collapsed
if
Oregon hadn't collapsed in the second half against Oregon State, the Utes wouldn't have won a conference football title. So, all right, DJ and PK, 2 days of coverage, nonstop, Big 12 Media Days from Las Vegas, right here on The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present?
This is JJ and Alex.
Sean Dursey is going to be wearing the number 50 for the Utah Hockey Club.
I've said it a million times, and I'll keep saying it. The excitement from the fans and, from the state of Utah and everybody who wants to be a part of it has been off the charts. Something that really, really has me excited to be playing here. And you could just tell that this is a place that wants to have a team, love a team, and want the best for their team. And I think that's all you could ask for as a player, to have passionate fans who are with you in the hard times, but will enjoy the sweet times so much more. So I think that part of it, and I know the feeling's mutual throughout the team. I think a lot of guys have thought the same thing and have kind of been going in that direction of, we want to win for these fans because they are so excited. They want to have a team here. They're going to love us. They're going to be passionate about us. You know what? We're so excited.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer's strong play of the weekend.
And Michael Chang, who came on after the goal as a sub, comes forward, leaves it for Luna. Luna volleys to himself. Luna! Diego Luna finishes, and it's 5-2. Diego Luna is having a night. There's the Chevy Strong play of the game. Know it this afternoon. After 3 o'clock, JJ and Alex will call for it, and you can win fabulous prizes. DJ PK, we are joined once again by John Woodbury from the Ultimate Sports Bash. And, John, you've lined up a very special guest.
Very, very special.
Britton Covey joining us right now. Britton, good morning.
Good morning, you guys. Good to be on with you.
You're a citizen of the world. Good to have you on, but where in the world are you coming on from? I know Friday or Saturday or both days you'll be at the Ultimate Sports Bash, but where are you right now?
A citizen of the world. I like that. I am currently in Utah. My wife and I, we have a townhouse here in Lehigh, like every other young couple in the entire country. So here in Utah for about a week more before I go out for fall camp.
The citizen of the world reference, that's a Rick Majerus line from back in the day. I borrow that liberally these days.
Oh, I didn't know. I heard that he used to have all sorts of phrases written up on the whiteboard all the time.
I'm keeping a limited list out of all the possibilities.
You can't say them all on the air.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What are you going to talk about the Sports Bash? Because you're going to be there Friday. You're going to be on a panel with Jaron Hall, I think, from 2 to 3.
Yes, sir. I'm pumped, and I wanted to thank you, John. I'm excited. It's fun to have an excuse to get together with other athletes, especially Jaron, because we golf together, and I like to trash talk him. Somebody, please, in the Q&A, ask if he's ever beaten me in golf. I just want to see his face.
It sounds like that answer is good for you.
Exactly. But, he did get me his senior year at BYU, so I'll give him some credit there. But no, I'm excited. I love opportunities like this, and I love specifically Q&A because people always have the most interesting and funny questions. Everybody wants to hear the tea and ask questions about Coach Witt. And now everybody, if there are girls, they always want to ask me about the Kelsey brothers and Jason Kelsey. So I'm sure I'll get a few of those too.
Well, I'm excited to hear from you. I'm so grateful that you're going to be there. You were one of the first athletes we thought of when we started putting this together. We just knew that you had to be there, and everyone we talked to, they're so excited. Oh, Britton's going to be there? I'm there.
Well, that's good. I'm really glad you thought of me. Like I said, I love stuff like this. The state of Utah is so unique, especially after having been in the East Coast. The sports community here is so unique and so fun that I just love it. And I think probably part of the reason why people want me there is there's, everybody needs a 5'8", undersized white guy role model in sports so that they feel like they can live out their dream. That's most of the time when parents talk to me. It's because their kid's undersized, and I relate to that. I had guys that I used to look up to. Obviously, I played at Utah, but I grew up a BYU fan because my brother played at BYU. My dad, my uncles, and so I used to watch like Nate Mickle and those guys, and I always, any undersized white guy that looks like me in the mirror, probably balding, I looked up to. And so I like to kind of try and fill that role for any other kid in the state that can look up and try to fulfill a dream.
That's awesome. That's a big part of what we're doing is we want kids to be able to come and see themselves in successful people, in athletes that are doing what they love. We've got women that are playing tackle football that are going to be doing passing camps, and just we want everyone to know that you can do this. You can enjoy it. You can love it. You can be good at it.
I am curious. Who was it that convinced you when you were watching them, if they can do it, I can do it? And how old were you when you thought, this is no longer a dream, I've got a plan, I'm going to pull this off?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, like I said, Nate Mickle was probably the first one that I remember seeing my size, or undersized, that would do things that I got excited about. But I still to this day have a pair of gloves that Todd Watkins gave me when I was 7 years old. And so he came to a birthday party of my cousins when I was 7 years old, and he threw the football with us. And I'm sure he has no recollection of that. But it was one of the best days of my life, right? And And so just growing up watching those early teams, and then as I got older, watching Reggie Dunn at the U and kind of that returner position is kind of when I started to envision what I would see myself doing in college. But for a while, it was just being an absolute fan of those early BYU teams, Todd Watkins, Austin Collie, Matt Allen, all those guys. I was the biggest fan you've ever met. And then as I grew older and it started to become more of a reality for me, that's when, Reggie Dunn and Kalen Clay kind of, gave me a role model of what type of player I wanted to be.
When you say Reggie Dunn, I immediately think, it was more than a decade ago now, but I think of a ridiculous 42-35 game, and he ran a kickback to win the game, and Kyle Whittingham afterwards said, I can't for the life of me figure out why they kicked to Reggie Dunn. I thought it was one of the most honest post-game quotes. I'm like, why are they kicking it to him? And it was an electric return, and then I think of you in the Rose Bowl, and, the comparisons are obvious.
Yeah, well, and Reggie's my guy. I mean, Reggie was one of my mentors coming in, and it's always interesting to me. Athletes, I feel like, go one of two ways when they leave college. They either get kind of bitter and they refuse to give the next generation credit, or it's the complete opposite, and they are so abundant. They want the next generation to be better than them. And I feel like that's something that's unique about the state is, it's everybody just wants the state of Utah to succeed and to, kind of be put on the map because we've got some great football around here, great sports in general. And I know that's not the case with a lot of people in other colleges. There's not this abundant mentality that you feel here, Kalen Clay, Reggie Dunn, all those guys who played the slot role, all they wanted was for me to be better than they were. And it carries over, that's what I want. But sometimes you watch these ESPN shows for the NBA and things, and you see the quote-unquote old heads, right, just refusing to give anyone credit in the next generation, just saying how they wouldn't have survived in the 80s or 90s and things. And I just feel like it's not good for the game, and I feel like it's so see-through and obvious that you're just not abundant, and anyone who gives the next generation credit and advice is someone that I appreciate so much.
Well, I know a lot of fans are going to appreciate you being there this weekend at the Ultimate Sports Bash. Your panel is Friday afternoon. And as far as you wanting a specific question posed so that you can embarrass Jaron, do you know who the moderator is when you're up there?
I have no idea who the moderator is, but moderation is fun, and I'm curious.
His name rhymes with Latrick Linehan.
No, really?
Yes. PK is the moderator.
I am.
I'm pumped. That's what I'm talking about.
I think mission accomplished on needing a certain golf question posed. I think you took care of business early.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Britton, go ahead, PK.
I wake up trash talking, so I'm looking forward to this.
And golf trash talk is his best. He's way into the golf trash talk. He'll take you both on. He's ready to go. All right, Britton, we appreciate it. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you Friday afternoon at the Ultimate Sports Bash.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good. I'm excited to see you there, and thanks again, John. This is going to be awesome.
I'm so excited.
DJ and PK, the Ultimate Sports Bash, Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tickets online at
ultimatesportsbash.com.
And at the door, but cheaper
at ultimatesportsbash.com.
There you go. All right, Friday and Saturday, Mountain America Expo Center, 9400 South and State Street in Sandy. DJ and PK at 97.5 The Zone.